Breaking news today. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is a flashpoint in the Russia-Ukraine war. Some analysts have said the immediate risks to the plant are low, despite accusations from both Ukraine and Russia of planning attacks on the facility. This is what we'll be talking about. For a long time, people all over the world have been worried about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Makiivka, a city occupied by the Russian Federation with a sordid past for Moscow, is hit by Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainians who live in close proximity to a nuclear plant that is a target of the conflict have a lot on their plate already. A Ukrainian general provides a snapshot of the counteroffensive with 3 numbers. Biden and the Swedish Prime Minister will reportedly talk about Sweden's application to join NATO. The story of a rabbi who was nearly swept away in the flooding in Ukraine went viral. Russia, China, and India were able to advance their diplomatic goals by holding a virtual summit. For a long time, people all over the world have been worried about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Despite analysts' claims that the immediate risk of serious harm to the facility appears low, Russia and Ukraine accused each other on Wednesday of plotting to sabotage the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in southern Ukraine, further raising tensions over one of the war's main flashpoints. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, citing his country's intelligence agency, has claimed that Russian troops who seized the plant in March of last year have placed objects that look like explosives on the roof of several of its power units. Ukrainian officials have been ramping up their warnings of nuclear sabotage, but he did not elaborate and it could not be confirmed independently. Mr. Zelensky said in an overnight speech, "The only source of danger to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is Russia and no one else." He also mentioned that he had discussed his concerns with French President Emmanuel Macron over the phone. On Wednesday, Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar accused Russia of escalating the situation at the plant. An overnight strike by the Ukrainian military on the Russian-occupied city of Makiivka resulted in a massive explosion and competing reports of damage. Although there was some disagreement over the nature of the target, both Ukrainian and Russian officials agreed that the attack in Makiivka was significant. Moscow's forces suffered one of their worst single-day losses since the start of the invasion when they were attacked months after Ukrainian forces had attacked the city. Late on Tuesday, footage of a huge fireball lighting up the sky over Makiivka, in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, began making the rounds on social media. The Ukrainian military posted the video to the messaging app Telegram, claiming that a Russian base in Makiivka had ceased to exist as a result of the actions of Kyiv's armed forces. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine has repeatedly warned of a nuclear disaster. Kyrylo Budanov, the head of his military intelligence, recently claimed that Russia has drafted and approved a plan to sabotage Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia. Communities across central Ukraine have recently sprung into action and held emergency drills in anticipation of a disaster that officials fear could spread a radioactive cloud over the entire area. But the mood is different in the streets of Nikopol, the city across the Dnipro River from the Russian-occupied nuclear plant, where the cooling towers can be seen rising above the afternoon haze. In her retirement, Nadia Zhilina worked in a factory. "I'm not worried," she said. "Certainly not." She had on freshly painted toenails and mascara as she pushed a shopping cart along a bright avenue. She gave off an air of serene confidence. This city may represent the Ukrainian attitude of, "What's the big deal?" in the face of immediate peril. The besieged nuclear plant is within 4 miles of Nikopol, but if you arrived on a Monday and strolled around, you might think everything was normal. People waited at bus stops, walked out of supermarkets with arms full of plastic bags, and pushed strollers along the sidewalks. There was a steady flow of traffic. A flock of seabirds squawked overhead. A group of teenagers did what teenagers everywhere do in the summer. They laid in the tall grass of the city park and stared at their phones. "I have a wonderful life," said one of them, Maxim Baklanov. Nikopol is in close proximity to a nuclear power plant and is shelled almost daily by Russian troops across the river. However, despite the recent dire predictions, only about 50,000 of the city's pre-war population of 100,000 have left. Countless Ukrainians, who baffle outsiders by staying in dangerously close proximity to the front lines of the biggest European war in generations, may have another explanation for that beyond grit and defiance. Many people really are stuck with no other choice. Gettleman, Jeffrey. From Nikopol in Ukraine, a report. Exhibit more.